spiritual beings having a human experience. Welcome to Explore the Extraordinary with Anita Moorjani.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my show this week. I am thinking and beaming out my energy, love, light, everything, embracing every single one of you who is tuned in right now, even those of you that are not tuned in, all over the world. And I appreciate every single one of you and love it that so many of you tune in from all around the world. So thank you, thank you. And also for those of you who've purchased my new book, What If This Is Heaven, thank you for purchasing it, reading it. I really, really appreciate everything that you've written back as feedback. I love that and really grateful. So thank you. Today, I have a really, really special guest. My special guest, his name is Dr. Rob Rutledge. And he's special to me because he is an oncologist. He's a radiation oncologist based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. And he specializes in breast, prostate, and pediatric cancers. Now, he has an official biography here, but I don't want to get so much into that because, he's highly qualified in his profession and so on. But the reason why I was touched by him and why I've invited him on my show is because I was speaking in Halifax, Nova Scotia a few months ago, and Dr. Rutledge actually he came on the stage, and this was organized by the promoters of the event. So he sort of, you could almost say, opened for me. And what he did really impressed me because he is an oncologist, and he taught the audience certain skills like breathing, meditation, and he does a lot of this kind of thing. And what I love is when oncologists, when scientists, practitioners of medicine, conventional medicine, actually take that step and cross that invisible divide that we have somehow created between alternative and conventional medical therapies. And Dr. Rutledge, and in fact, I'll call him Rob for the purpose of this conversation. Rob actually really impressed me at the way he dealt with the audience. And after the event, he came to me and we had a very deep conversation because he has read my book. We followed up and had a telephone conversation about it. And I have been extremely impressed at the way he views illness and at the way he treats patients and so on. And so I thought it would be a real treat to have him on the show for all of you because I still get so many people writing to me that you are dealing with illness, the fear of illness, how to deal with the fear as you're going through treatments and so on and so on. And also, I want to say that we are going to be taking phone calls during this show. And Rob is also open to hearing from you and open to hearing your questions. And the phone numbers, I'll just give them to you now and I'll give them to you again. If you're calling from U.S. or Canada, is 866-254-1579. That's 866-254-1579. And if you're calling international, it's 1-760-918-4300. That's 1-760-918-4300. And now, welcome, Dr. Rob Rutledge. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's just wonderful just to be with you and to experience your presence and realize that there's so many people out there that share that same kind of sense of spirit that goes beyond the physical. So I'm just really honored to be able to chat with you today.
Oh, wow. And I'm honored that, that you read my book and you resonated with it and that you are so interested in seeing patients as more than just physical beings. And that is something that I always appreciate from medical doctors because you are sort of on the first line of people who are diagnosed with something. You're the first line of who they see. And so it's so important to ease them out of that fear.
Right. And to realize that people can do so much more to help themselves and to empower themselves beyond getting the best care from the medical system. I see that as an integrative medicine. You're getting the best care from what science has to offer, and then you're empowering yourself at levels of body, mind, and spirit. And really, people can make a tremendous difference in their health and happiness by, first of all, taking that kind of attitude and then actually practicing the skills that change their brain, change the physiology, change the soup in which the cancer cells were created, and making a huge difference in their health. And so it's, to me, to be able to connect with people who have that like mind, who are willing to take care of themselves, is just really inspiring.
Yes, I completely agree with you when people are willing to change. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, let's talk about, for example, what are the attributes of cancer survivors? What are the attributes of someone who, let's talk about who we know at a gut level when we see them, that, they're going to make it. They're going to see through this thing. They're going to make it.
Yeah, so that was my first introduction. So when I was a medical student in the 1980s, I didn't know what kind of physician I was going to be. I was thinking about psychiatry, thinking about serving people with addictions, and I had one of those kind of life-altering experiences where the book chooses the reader scenario, and it was you've had that one, and it was it was actually Bernie Siegel, he was a surgeon and a pioneer in support groups from Yale, which is Ivy League medical school, and he was writing about his support group experience, and something within his psyche, his spirit, was pushing him out to kind of empower people, and he started to run support groups, and he found that there were certain, what he called, exceptional cancer patients, the ones who did way better than expected, whose tumors shrunk, who got through treatment extremely well, who far outlived any expectations, who spontaneous remission, those type of things. And just as a quick aside, I don't break up the world into those people who are exceptional and the rest of us. I think we all have that kind of capacity to tap into something that's much bigger than the physical world. But what he noticed was that there were certain attributes of the people, certain personality traits of the people who did exceptionally well. And, it's actually been proven out in the literature, looking at the scientific studies of people who undergo spontaneous remission. They have certain attributes. And I thought, Anita, you and I could chat about some of those attributes. And I'm going to bring up the first one, and let's just have a little back and forth as to how you look at that. So the first one is this idea of being able to accept the reality of the situation, to be able to say, this is my starting point. I start fresh from here. I aim forward. Yes, this is a really tough situation, but I actually accept what's happening to myself, as opposed to kind of like resignation, giving up, blaming others, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think it's a bit tricky because maybe you also went through the cancer diagnosis, and you were one of those exceptional patients who really empowered yourself. But I'm wondering if you can reflect on the acceptance piece.
Okay, so this is really interesting, and I love it. I love this dialogue.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to also reiterate what you just said earlier before the acceptance piece, where you said that you don't like to separate between the ones who are exceptional patients and who aren't. And I want to reiterate that's very important to say that, because I think everybody has the ability to tap into that exceptionalism, and that's why it's important to talk about it and identify what it is so that everyone else can tap into that. Yeah. So I think it's very important you brought that up. The second thing is, do you know that in the beginning, as the cancer deteriorated, I was actually in denial. So I agree, the acceptance is really important. I only accepted it right at the end, that, okay, this is where I am, I'm dying, I'm not going to make it. I only accepted it and let the universe do its thing right at the end.
Yep. And that was the medium for allowing spirit to come in and help in some
sense. And that's so important. And when people say to me that, when people think that, oh, I must be really spiritual, I must be really smart, I always say no. On the contrary, you guys are more enlightened than I am, because you're doing the healing now, you're working on it now. I didn't do it until the very end.
Yeah, and that's why I thought, oh, geez, should I ask Anita that question? But it turned out exactly right. Is that at that moment when you kind of release, there's no longer kind of the struggle that you're taking off that extra shackles of this should not be this way, and you're released into the moment, and that opens up possibilities in spirit that we don't realize until we say, okay, this is my moment right now, and I can figure out what I'm going to do, and there's always the kind of the proactivity, like there's acceptance here, but we're still pushing forward. We're still aiming forward. We're still going to be proactive in our journey. And Anita, I'm wondering if I can just read a little bit, tell a little bit of a story around acceptance.
Sure, but I just wanted to add one more thing, is that even when I say that I was in denial, when I was not in denial, I was fighting it. So fighting is not acceptance either. Right. And in fact, we're using a lot of our energy and our strength in the fight, when actually that energy could be released to heal. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much for that one. It's like talking to my own brain. It's hilarious. So I just want to just reflect on that one as well, because I don't agree with the major charities that say this is a fight against cancer. Yes. And, there are some people that, they have that natural warrior spirit. They want to, put their life energy into kind of fighting. They're going to exercise harder. They're going to do this and do that. And bless them all. I mean, if that's the best thing for them, great. But for me, it's this idea of, this is the reality. You don't have to fight against it's not a war against cancer. It's like, how can I, truly love and accept myself in this incredibly difficult situation, and do the exercise and the diet and everything else you can do to empower yourself. So that's why I get a little, I don't feel quite right when I hear the kind of fight metaphors.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I was being encouraged to fight it. And this is why I say it's so important to have the right people in your team who will support the way you want to heal.
Right. This. Yeah. Each to this, there's no best way. So just I hope people feel like they can trust their own intuition and figure out what's best for them. So.
Exactly.
I do want to share this story though. So it's from a dear friend actually. Karen and I were very close friends in medical school, and then we parted ways. And then several years later, we kind of reconnected by email, and we would be sharing. Christmas emails saying how our young families were doing and so on. And then I got an email, it's 10 years ago, from Karen saying, Rob, I need to talk with you. And I immediately assumed that it was somebody in her family who had a bad cancer diagnosis. They wanted to talk to the body, mind, spirit guy about what to do. I got on the phone, and her husband said, it's Karen with the cancer diagnosis. She had breast cancer. She had a lump in her armpit, so it was advanced, and her chance of cure wasn't fantastic. And so I was like in kind of like shock right away, and kind of Karen got on the line, and I was like almost in tears, a kind of frog in my throat feeling, and I was really kind of astounded as to how grounded and clear and centered Karen was. I thought, wow, that's what's happened here, and I actually commented on that, and she said, I got to kind of acceptance really fast. It was like 1 day or 2 days, and she had kind of got to this kind of more peaceful state. And yes, she was taking care of herself and doing the classic surgery and really taking care of her body, et cetera, but she was like so grounded. And people would say to her stuff like, oh, Karen, I know you're going to beat this. And she would, which isn't, I don't think that it's the right thing to say, but anyways, and she would respond with, that's a really nice thing to say, but you know what, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So she was just very clear about this. And eventually she wrote an email to all her friends and family to explain the kind of psychological state that she was in. And she shared with me that email, which I put into our book, The Healing Circle. But I want to share it because it's the issue around mortality, which is really the elephant in the room. That the fact is we have to, when we accept our own mortality, it's the next level of incredible acceptance. So I want to just read. This is like less than a minute. So she said,
yes.
but once I managed to accept that the reality of my mortality had always been there, I could accept that nothing fundamental in my life had really changed with this diagnosis. I'm still the same me. My life has not changed drastically or dramatically. I'm still here. I was not hit by a bus. My loved ones are still around me. Unbelievably, I can honestly say that I'm as happy now as I was 5 weeks ago. I am, even in this moment, missing a body part or two, hair about to fall out, completely and utterly whole. And then she goes on to write, this allows me to see that the last few weeks and the year ahead as the first steps towards rather than a plunge from true wellness.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. You know, most people are really freaked out for a month, 2 months type thing, and she's getting into this space of just seeing this is the reality of the situation.
Wow.
And then I would just say, yeah, I agree. She's quite the dynamo character, and quite the wise soul is how I see it as well. But I'm just going to read one more paragraph because it's not just acceptance. It's not just releasing into space. We have this choice as well. But since then, so she basically suffered from despair for a couple of days. But since then, I have known that I'll be okay. Maybe not okay in the way that I would have defined 5 weeks ago, but in a bigger sense. I felt that while I cannot be positive I will beat this, I can be positive that I will have the courage to face what is ahead. I'm positive that I'll have the support from loved ones and the expertise from my doctors and ultimately the grace from God to ensure that this turn in the road will not be a negative force in my life. And I believed all that and still believe that from deep within my soul. But in the past 2 weeks, something else has crept in. I'm starting to believe, or want to believe, that I will beat this in a conventional sense. I'm starting to demand it of myself and to ask it of God. There is a proportion of women who survive my breast cancer, or stage of my breast cancer, so why not me? Yeah. So therein, again, rests the tension that we can live both acceptance and coming into that space and be proactive and make the right decisions about how we can take care of ourselves, how we can bring our love and light into the world.
Yes, you know, it's really interesting because everybody I met who have actually lived through a cancer experience and have come out the other side, every single one of them to a letter who survived cancer have said to me that it was a gift, that it was an experience that has made them healthier and whole, and that it came in to save their life, not to take it away. At least everyone who has been, everyone who I've spoken to, who have been attracted to what I speak about, you know, my audiences, my book, and so on. So they've all said the same thing to me, that the cancer actually took them to the next level of their life, and they were. And it brought with them lots of gifts, lots of messages, lots of things. So it's extremely interesting, that isn't it? That and so I truly believe that it's our body's way of communicating with us. And would you agree? And I certainly believe this, that the physical part of it is something like we may see it manifest. As something physical, but something has been going on under the surface for us, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, for years before it manifests in the physical. And so I often feel that when it appears in the physical, we then get into this fear that we now have something physical to deal with, and then we go and deal with it on a physical level, which your friend thankfully has not gone into that into realm, that pattern, into that realm, which is so normal and typical for most people, is that something physical has manifested. Now we go and have the physical thing looked at, and it gets diagnosed with the scary word, and then we go off in this direction of fear because of the scary word. Whereas we haven't been dealing with the emotional and the spiritual, which has been building up for all these past years, which caused this physical thing. What we need to do is to go and deal with the emotional and the physical and heal those aspects of our life.
For certain. I mean, what resonated for me right away as you were speaking is that was one of the things that Bernie Seco was talking about, right in that first book, seeing cancer as an opportunity, seeing cancer as a catalyst for the psychological and spiritual healing. I'm just not so bold as to say cancer is a gift for everybody, because some people are really hurting very, very badly, and I wouldn't want to kind of impose my kind of feeling on it. And then because
I respect
at the same time, there's always opportunity, though, right? No matter where you're at, if you're suffering, if you're in pain, you're in a hospital bed, that next person that walks through the door, you can love them with your heart. There's always that opportunity, always that chance to heal right out to the last moment. So, I mean, that's my philosophy of it all. And then I guess we're going to have this big conversation about, kind of what causes cancer. And, I totally respect the idea that from the kind of emotional perspective, not taking care of oneself, that can manifest through the physical. That definitely, is part of a pathway for some people. But because I'm a kind of a scientist, I also think about the fact that we live in these human bodies, we live in this human world, and we abide by the laws of the physical universe. And so, for some people, a cancer diagnosis happens almost like a degenerative disease, like arthritis in your joints. If you live long enough, the cells go from kind of normal cells and they progress into cancer cells ultimately. And that's why cancer is so much more prevalent in older people. Now, and I've seen other part of that is I've seen, the perfect, like the yoga teacher, lovely person, perfect diet, they have absolutely everything, going for them, and yet still get a cancer diagnosis. So I haven't seen it as consistent of, the emotional difficulties, even though we all suffer. We all have these kind of repressed emotions, and we're still trying to heal throughout our lifetime. So that's why I put myself into the space of don't know for that person. If they believe that an emotional issue really contributes to their cancer, I support them. It's probably true for them, but I just, again, don't know.
Oh, I totally respect that. As a doctor, you absolutely
see the thousands of patients later.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you and I come right together again, because at the moment of diagnosis, or if you're at any point in follow-up, I still think that we have this opportunity to reframe, to work on the psychological issues, the emotional issues, which releases the body, releases the physical to actually allow itself to heal more and more. So the point is, we want to do that work, the psychological, emotional, spiritual work, no matter what the cause of the cancer was.
Yes, exactly. And absolutely, I 100% agree with you on that. And the thing is, one of the things that sometimes, for me, which I find a challenging topic to talk about, is the food. When people want to know more about the kind of diet one should eat to avoid cancer. And I'll tell you exactly why this is a challenging topic for me. Because before I got cancer, I was eating extremely healthy. I was the poster child for health. I did yoga. I did yoga every single day. I ate mostly plant-based food, all organic, and I researched everything to do with the best foods to eat for to avoid cancer, because I was obsessed with not getting cancer. And so this is why I'm very, very careful about telling people what to eat and what not to eat, because I would listen to every expert about food and I would follow everything. I ordered all the supplements, so much so that I would get really obsessive if I missed a dose. I would get all fearful that, oh my God, I've missed my dose, and I was so careful about going out to eat, very selective about the restaurants, I was extremely selective about food. I grew my own wheatgrass, and so on and on. And I got cancer. And my mom is 86 years old. We've never had cancer in the family, by the way. Nobody in my family, in my history, has had cancer. And I didn't just get cancer. It progressed to a 4B, stage 4B. So, but nobody in my family has had cancer. And my mom, she's 86 years old. She has the most unhealthy diet in the world, but she's still very much present, very, alive. And she eats nothing but sugar with every meal. She eats biscuits with every meal. And do you know, every time I used to read on the internet that sugar feeds cancer, I have a sweet tooth. I used to panic, and I would avoid sugar like anything but I love sweets, but I would avoid it because I believed it fed cancer. And I would keep telling my mom, this is going back even 10 years ago, 15 years ago before I had cancer. And I would tell my mom, you've got to cut down on the sugar. She never listened to me. She's 86. She's still here. She eats sugar every single day. She eats chocolates. She eats biscuits every single day. And that's her favorite thing to eat. My dad-in-law, he loves sweets. He's 90 years old.
Wow.
Neither of them watch their diet. Both of them eat whatever they feel like eating.
Great genetics.
This is why I am really careful about telling people. So I'm bringing this up only to get your view and your opinion on that. Do you ever guide people in terms of diet and so on?
Yeah, I run a charity is my passion in the world. It's called healingandcancer.org. We're renovating right now, but people can go in and actually watch the full lectures of this integrative approach. And part of it is this idea of diet. Amongst the body, exercise, diet, maintaining reasonable weight, sleep, practice relaxation. So diet is something that people can really control and really make a difference in their lives. And so, it's back to the kind of same principles. How can you bring self-love, self-care right into this physical realm? Right?
Yeah.
So instead of being harsh or judgmental, it's like, wow, I've got this amazing body that serves me. If I can listen to this radio interview, there's billions and billions and billions of things that are right within my body. It's a miracle. I'm a walking miracle. And so the question is, how do I feed? How do I take care of this body? I've been given this manifestation, given this body. How do I actually take care of it? And so then what do you do with everything? You use just like you did, you use your science, you use your rational mind, you use your research, you learn, and then you trust your intuition. So it's both sides. And you definitely listen to your body too. Go ahead.
You hit on something really important. It's about loving yourself and loving your body and doing what feels right for your body, because I truly believe that my mom and my dad-in-law do have a lot of love and respect for themselves, and I think that is what takes them through it, because it's to me, my simple philosophy is that if we're eating all these so-called, what we have labeled as right foods, if we're doing it out of a fear, if we're doing it out of a fear of disease, a fear of cancer, that's not the right reason to do it. But when we eat out of a love for ourselves, because we're in tune with our body, that's really the best gauge.
Right, and that's why there's no one best diet, essentially. And I think, it happens from a kind of a spiritual level. It's like if you practice meditation and focus on your breath, you're bringing energy into your body, you're bringing spirit into your body. When you do a qigong or some type of meditation on the spot, you're bringing energy and love into your body. In the same way, when you think about, well, how do I want to feed my body, it's the same meta message. And it's just not physical. There's something that's happening at a bigger level that says, I love myself, I want to take care of myself, and that will then naturally manifest in terms of what you choose. And yes, I can talk about, a plant-based diet that's high in fruits and vegetables, that has the antioxidants, maybe a little bit of fish, make sure you get your vitamin D. I can spiel for a while, but, ultimately people can figure that out. And what do you need today? Maybe you're in a hot spot and you're, sweating a lot, so maybe you need more fluids, a little bit of more salt in your diet. And so when you begin to listen to your body in terms of what you need and what feels good, that's the other thing. So I'm looking at my my kind of chicken salad right now because I didn't have time to eat lunch. But that's that. I mean, when I get salad and some fish and some rice, that's what my body likes and what my body feels strong and energized with. And so I love myself enough to do that. That's
beautiful. That's really beautiful. Oh, and Rob, we have some people who have called in, and
good.
They have. Yeah. Would you like to? Let's take this one. Let's take line 1. It's Susan, and I believe she has stage 4 cancer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
How are you, my dear?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm really just happy that you phoned and really just happy to have this conversation with you.
Oh, so am I. I'm surprised I got through.
Yeah. What's on your mind, Susan?
Well, I'm living with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It's now in the liver. My story is a little similar to Anita's. I started out with stage 2B breast cancer, and that was in November 2012. And as you know, being a radiation oncologist, you guys kind of scare us, with the, you don't hear anything else. You just hear blah, 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 cancer, and that was my first time when I was 43. I ever had a mammogram. And, cancer never ran in my family. I didn't know anything about it, but depression and bipolar and the mental stuff kind of ran in my family, but not cancer.
Yeah.
So, so I was listening to what the doctors say, and unfortunately they frighten you so much. They push you like, okay, you have to do this, and you can't even think. And I didn't have a huge support system, and so I started, doing the biopsies, and they're like, okay, you have to do a mastectomy and reconstruction, and my boyfriend at the time started asking questions, and I'm a Reiki healer, and like Anita was saying about her mother, my mother's 80. She eats some things that she wants, but she tries to eat as healthy as she can too, because there's that fear. But she still eats her chocolate and her ice cream, and But I'm just rambling. I don't, but I didn't do the mastectomy, and I got scared. I just ran away, and she kept contacting me, my surgeon, and they make you feel like you're going to die, and I didn't want to do the reconstruction, and she gave me a hard time about that, and so I did kind of what Anita did, maybe not as much. I started doing raw vegan. I started talking to as many people as I could, and I started reading, watching all the natural videos and the traditional medicine, and it's like your head just starts to spin, and everybody's like talking at you, and basically, so I did my own natural thing. Sure.
I just wanted to. My heart just goes out to you as you're speaking. I'm just wishing that I could give you a virtual hug, a huge virtual hug. Do you know why? Because everything you're saying is reminding me of everything that I felt and I went through. And in fact, I'm tearing up listening to you because you're bringing back memories of, and I know exactly how you feel because you are me. You are exactly who I was. Gosh, exactly. I mean, you just don't know how much you just touched me with everything you said. The fear you felt, and the confusion because of everything that's being thrown at you. You just described 100% where I was. Oh my God, that is my story.
Oh yeah, that's why. I mean, I have your book on Kindle, and I was, reading through some of the chapters again, and so I went back to the breast surgeon, and now I'm stage 4. So, that was 2013. So 3 years later, and I'm seeing an oncologist. So, and I've been on and off antidepressants. I had to increase my antidepressant recently because of steroids. The medicine messes with you. So, now I'm kind of back to that fear and fighting for my life and being
Have
home
you
a lot.
have you read my new book yet? Because there is a particular chapter 5, that where I actually address exactly this, the fear of going through all the options of treatments, the confusion. I address exactly how to overcome that fear. And because in actuality, even when you're diagnosed with cancer, the fear makes you act very quickly, but it's not going to kill you in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days.
Exactly.
It's not. It's absolutely not. This is not your body trying to kill you or take your life away. This is your body actually trying to do its job. It's trying to help you. It's trying to heal you. It's trying to communicate with you. Your body is your friend. Sometimes medical doctors make you feel like the illness is the enemy, but it's not. It's not. We have to change that. And this is something I'm really passionate about. We have to change that, because sometimes I feel that belief that the illness is the enemy, and that whole warring mentality is actually what kills us, not the illness itself. The illness is not something that is an enemy that has to be killed, and in the end the collateral damage is our own body. That is just so not the case. That is so not the case. I just wish I could give you a hug, and I wish I could just transplant what I know now into your head. I truly do.
Well, I would say as well that the wisdom and what is right for you is there already. I mean, I just so respect you, Susan, for your proactive approach and the fact that you would phone in and you would read Anita's books and really do these extra things. So that by itself is really healing. But I also respect that you can feel overwhelmed, like there's too much advice and too many things happening. And ultimately, I just feel within my heart that you'll be guided in the way that's right for you. And you don't have to figure out everything at once. You just take 1 day at a time or 1 moment at a time and just make that next decision that feels right. And it's not necessarily going to be easy every day. You're going to have good days and bad days, but there's a kind of a realm of spirit or, kind of your psyche that will help guide you and so on. So thank you so much for calling in and sharing some of that story with us.
And
thank you for
Susan,
talking.
Susan, I want you to surround yourself with people who will support you on this journey. Absolutely surround yourself with people who are aligned with your way of thinking. The other thing is, if you haven't read my second book yet, I'm going to ask the lovely people, Rachel, who takes care of the calls, I'm going to ask her to get your address and have one sent to you. I want you to read chapter 5, which is exactly how to deal with the fear of what you're going through right now.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
my dear?
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I didn't read it, and I was going to try to get it, but I didn't have money to get it.
Oh,
so
my
that's
sweet,
amazing.
it's yours. It's a gift. And just request to them, do you want the audio? Do you want the actual book, the book? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you both. So, Rachel, my dear, would you organize for Susan to have both the CD set as well as the actual book?
Oh, wow.
My sweet, I'm with you through this journey, okay?
Oh, okay. Great.
Bless you, Susan.
Bless you, and
thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
calling in. Love you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, see, my heart really goes out when people go through exactly what I've been through.
Yeah.
It really does. Because I know exactly what they're feeling.
Yeah. And common experience to feel overwhelmed and oftentimes alone and not understood.
Sometimes, I once was speaking at a medical convention where a doctor challenged me and actually said to me, "You're not a doctor. You're not a doctor. You don't have the authority to say what you say." And I said, "I may not be a doctor, but I have had what was diagnosed as terminal cancer. I reached end stage. I have dealt with doctors who have dealt with me as an end-stage cancer patient. I came out the other side. How many doctors can say that? So I do know something that even doctors don't know. I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
So
wisdom is wisdom, and truth is truth. And You know, the remarkable gift you give to the world is that you're able to tap into such deep wisdom. So bless you.
Oh, thank you. I think we all, I want everyone to know that we all have access to that wisdom. We all do, and we have to stop giving our power away to fear.
Agreed.
Yeah, fear is a real power stripper.
Sometimes, agreed. And, sometimes, it's not every physician you can do this with, but you can actually coach your cancer doctor to say, look, I don't want you giving me bad news because I'm not a statistic. I'm a person. I can do way better than what you're averaging me as. So sometimes you kind of have to prime your physician and kind of work with that personality in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, I have often thought that I need to put out some kind of a video course very specifically for doctors and people in medicine as to how we as patients would like to be treated, especially with delicate news and things like that and things to consider. I've often thought that, and I think one day I will definitely do that.
Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah. So let's take, and thank you so much for helping her out and jumping in and giving her your suggestions. I so appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's just, just people do feel really alone and overwhelmed. And by reaching out, we actually release oxytocin and other positive chemicals within our mind. So to reach out is actually a healing phenomenon. We're wired from a human perspective. And so I tell people, find that one wise person in your life that you can simply say, this is how I'm feeling, and that person doesn't have to correct it. Or find that online group or that support group that will really kind of support you at that kind of deeper stage. And it's not every support group that can do that, or not every person that's going to want to join a support group, but we need that kind of support to be ourselves, to be authentic, feel those emotions, allow the emotions to kind of transmute over time.
Yeah. We do. That you're absolutely spot on. And we have someone else hanging on the line who's going through cancer treatments right now, and that's line 3, Charmaine from Hawaii. Hi, Charmaine.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Anita.
How are you?
I am great. I'm so glad I listened to your show today.
I'm so glad
awesome.
you did too. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you're listening in too. Welcome.
It's really awesome. And I was telling Rachel, I'm going through treatments right now, and I'm halfway there.
Nice.
And what I did is I'm listening to you folks, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing my spiritual, I'm doing my alternative, and I'm also doing the doctor, the medical. Because
Perfect.
I found
Beautiful.
that for me, that's a balance. I needed to balance that.
Yes.
And in the beginning, everybody was like, you're so bombarded with all these, you should do this and you should do that. And exactly what you folks are talking about is listening to my body and feeding it what it wants, because my body knows what I need.
Yes. Yep. Excellent. Exactly.
I'm so happy I listened to your show today. I was like, oh my God, this has to be a godsend for me, because I'm halfway there.
Yeah, and you, I mean, I just love your attitude, because that's really all it is. Respect your body, listen to your body, ask your body.
Exactly, and and when I first was diagnosed, I embraced that. What the doctor is telling me, okay, you have stage 4 colon and liver cancer. And he was shocked, because my attitude was like, okay, well, if you told me this back in the 50s, I would probably think, oh, I'm dead. But, today, knowing my spiritual and my, my spiritual being was like, okay, we can do this. We have to get through this, and we're going to help each other to balance where you need to be. And that was my philosophy all this time, and, it carried me through this far. I haven't had any of the real side effects of the chemo, because I am doing an alternative oncologist, also with the regular and the spiritual.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so awesome. And people look at me and they tell me, oh, well, you should be not doing the alternative, or it's my body. I need to
Yes.
Your spirit.
No matter what I did, I had people telling me the opposite. So you really should follow. If it empowers you to do the conventional, that's what you do. If it empowers you to do alternative, that's what you should do. If it empowers you to do a combination of both or a combination with spiritual, that's what you should do. You do what empowers you.
Yeah.
And you surround yourself with the people that support you on that journey. Because all of us, whether a doctor has given us a diagnosis or not, every single one of us is on a terminal journey anyway.
Yes.
We're all going to die anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, exactly. You know, and I've told my kids, you know, they're really scared about the cancer. I said, you know what? I'm going to love the cancer because it's a wake-up call for me that maybe I need to start taking care of my body. So, you know, I'm going to love it out of my body.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to embrace this cancer as it was a friend of mine. They came for a visit, and it's going to be gone soon.
Yes.
You know, and I have to explain that to my kids because they were really like, we got to do the chemo right away and stuff. And you know what? I held the doctors off for like about 3 or 4 months before I decided what to do because I figured I need to listen to my spiritual and my physical and find out what is best for me. And that's what my conclusion was, to do all three at once and balance it out. And it's been working perfectly.
That's wonderful. Charmaine, I want to reflect because Anita and I started out talking about the attributes of the remarkable cancer survivors, and we went through acceptance, and it's obvious you're in that space of just deep love. The second A is actually authenticity, which is you're listening to your heart. You're doing it the way that feels right for you, not listening to society or other people. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you're taking action, which is the third A. And it warms my heart to hear you, in that space and having confidence and bringing your light and love into the world while you're in the midst of chemotherapy. It's absolutely wonderful.
It is. It's such a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for you folks, for all the, for listening to you folks. It encourages me every day. I listen to Hay House every day.
Oh, good for you.
and I love it. I love it, That's my thing. I do my meditations and then I listen to Hay House and, just carry on with my day.
Yeah, and that's so important. Keep doing that. Keep finding your joy. Keep laughing. Keep enjoying life. Celebrate life. And this is what I tell people. Don't obsess over the illness or the treatments. Just keep celebrating life and keep being who you are. And go on a self-discovery journey of being who you are or discovering who you are. Oh, you're such an inspiration, Charmaine. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, folks. So much for being there on Hay House.
Bless you, really. Oh, and
another great spirit.
I loved her spirit.
There. Yeah.
There's a lot of great spirits out there. I mean, the people who actually call in and listen in, and the people who talk to me, they're really my inspiration. I learn so much from them. Truly.
And people that would take the time to listen to a Hay House or whatever it is that taps them into that bigger perspective. I mean, the way I see it is if you can kind of be listening to an interview or a Hay House guest or something like that, and it really resonates, it's because you're discovering or you're resonating with your own spirituality, your own wisdom. If you see strength in other people, you're recognizing strength within yourselves. If you're inspired, it's your own inspirational energy that is kind of vibrating with the caller.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very true. It's seeing yourself in other people. That's what it is.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And we probably only have time for one more caller because I then want to speak to you about a little bit about how people can get a hold of you and learn more about you. So let's go to line 4 to Carrie from California. Hi, Carrie. Hello.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, how are you?
Oh my gosh, great. I don't know why I'm surprised I got through because it's been pretty consistent. I've run into you 3 times in our hometown. And now when I listened to the radio and I heard the doctor speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so spot on what I'm working with. I've got to call in. And
are you the Carrie I've run into at Trader Joe's?
Yes.
Right. And you were on your bicycle as I was walking along the beach. And
yes.
yes. Okay. Wow.
And I mean, I'm
All
still
right.
amazed at that, and I know that it's a sign, it's a connection that I'm searching for an answer, and somehow, that it's connected through you. And so I listened to your show, and I've read your books, of course, and I love your philosophy. I love the simplicity of it, and it's something I've been working on for a long time. The point of where I'm at now is the whole acceptance, where before, like I have a chronic lung condition where I get frequent infections, and I'm sick the majority of the time because I'm just getting infections after another.
Yep.
And I'm out of breath as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
So right now I'm really trying to listen to my body and accept what's happening instead of thinking, I'm going to get better and make plans for things, because I've made plans for things and it's been disastrous and my body will just collapse. And so it's more of accepting, okay, my body right now is pretty sick. I can't make any big plans. I just need to go day for day and just see how I feel.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at now. It's a little bit of a struggle because it's also putting a burden on my family. It's more, in particular, my husband. It's like, I'm not feeling well enough. Can you walk the dog? Can you take the kids to school? Can you do this? So even though I'm accepting and like, this is what my body's telling me, I've now infringed upon other people, and that's
right, and that hurts too. Yeah.
I
just want to reflect. Acceptance doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be like perfectly peaceful and happy with exactly what's happening, because part of it in my own mind is that there's a mourning process, and the mourning process is my life was like that, and now my life is like this, and it takes a time of adjustment. In the same way that if your mom or your grandmom died, and you wouldn't kind of just accept it and not have any mourning sadness feelings, and it kind of takes time. And part of acceptance as well is accepting that we are going to feel how we're feeling. So accepting our own emotions is part of the acceptance process. Right. And I'm going to leave you with one last idea, which kind of may tap you into kind of a spiritual perspective, is that we can actually be suffering from a psychological perspective. We can be hurting and sad and upset, and at the same time holding our lives with a sense of wholeness that is incredible, peaceful and loving at the same time. So we can be hurting psychologically and be tapped into a spiritual perspective. Like watching a hurricane from 3 miles up in the sky, or being below the water and watching the waves above. So it may sound like a trite answer, and I want to kind of empathize. You're going through a really difficult time, but there is this feeling that you can tap into a bigger perspective and your wholeness as you're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way of putting it, Rob. And for some reason, I'm just feeling, Carrie, that maybe you are pushing yourself, or you always have pushed yourself, or have had a high expectation of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. I'm a doer. Or I've been.
Yes, and you've always had high expectations and expect yourself to reach certain standards, and you get disappointed or beat yourself up when you don't meet those standards. That's just, I don't know why, I just felt compelled to say that. And this may deserve a longer conversation because we're running out of time, and I hate it when this happens, is when someone calls in with something that's important, and then we're right at the end of the show. Carrie, please feel free to call in next week or something like that, and I will, if I see your name on the list, I will pull your call first. Would you do that for me?
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry to have to end this call, but just real quick, I want to tell people that where they can get hold of you, Rob, real quick.
Okay. And I just want to just acknowledge and honor Carrie for calling in. She's such a great spirit as well. So thanks so much, Carrie. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I will post details about Rob on my Facebook page. Please look up my Facebook page, Anita Moorjani. Thank you so much, everyone.